Dad, have you seen that new Lord of the Rings show?
I have seen it.
What'd you think?
It's alright.
It sucked.
It's alright.
Let's not kid ourselves, Dad. It sucked.
It's a little slow.
Stop trying to defend it.
Even for Lord of the Rings, it's a little slow.
It sucked.
But I think it builds.
It was
It's
terrible.
gonna get better.
Boring.
I like the dwarves.
Crap.
They're cool.
It sucked. Just
Gan-
say it sucked.
Gandalf's in it.
Just say it sucked.
It's alright.
It sucked.
It's alright.
Anyways, that's all we have to say about Ring of Power. That's the review.
It's alright.
Let's talk about a good fantasy show, though. House of the Dragon has just wrapped up. It's over for season 1. Obviously, y'all know it's the prequel to Game of Thrones. It takes place about 172 years before Daenerys Targaryen is born, and about 200 years before the events of Game of Thrones happen. So, before we get to that, I already made a video on Game of Thrones, what I think about it. I love it until a certain point, and I don't quite love it. But, Dad, what do you think of Game of Thrones?
Game of Thrones, the original.
The original show, yeah.
I liked the first 7.5 seasons.
Really? Yeah, I like, people say they hate season 7, but I liked it. I mean, it had its problems, but...
I mean, once they got off the book, it kind of went off the rails, but I think it was still okay until the end of season 8.
It really doesn't go off the rails for the last, 2 episodes.
Yeah.
It has issues before that, but the last 2 episodes are where it really just kind of goes downhill. But who's your favorite character in Game of Thrones, Seth?
Tyrion.
Yeah, Tyrion was cool. Mine changed all the time. It went from Tyrion to Cersei to Jon to Arya. I like Arya because she's my main in multiverses, so I'll just say Arya. But anyways, that's it for Game of Thrones.
If you said Cersei, I was going to say Shane.
Cersei. All right. So anyways, so House of the Dragon, it just wrapped up, and I gotta tell you, this is House of the Dragon and Rick and Morty really made Sundays bearable because they both came out on the same night. So Sundays were great because we got to watch a new episode of House of the Dragon, and then immediately after we got to watch a new episode of Rick and Morty. It was great. But yeah, House of the Dragon is over, and season 1 is over. It's based in the Fire and Blood book, which I haven't read because I don't want to spoil myself. But Dad, what did you think of season 1 of House of the Dragon?
I thought it was good. I thought it was very similar to the good seasons of Game of Thrones. It's still not as good as some of the really good seasons of Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
but it's solid.
Yeah, I think the best season of Game of Thrones is season 4. I don't think this season is quite as good, but I was actually surprised with this show because, I mean, prequels are kind of hard to do because you already know how it's going to end. I mean, we already know how this show is going to end. The Targaryen house is going to fall.
Well, it's Targaryen versus Targaryen, so...
Yeah, we don't know how this current conflict is going to end, but we don't know where ultimately it goes. But yeah, I really like this show. I don't think it's perfect. I think it has a few issues, but it was really consistent. There was never an episode where I was like, well, that sucked or that was filler. Every episode I felt like not only did I feel like a lot happened, but it was just it was just a great story every week. I was always super interested in every character. I mean, even in Game of Thrones, there's a few characters where when they cut to them, you're just like, oh, damn it, we got to watch Bran talk about being the three-eyed raven again. Who cares? But with this show, it focuses on, Game of Thrones had 100 different storylines going on. This show basically has one, and it's the conflict between Rhaenyra Targaryen and Alicent Hightower. There's a few other stuff in between there, but that is the core of the show.
And a minute ago, you spoiled who the Three-Eyed Raven is.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, guys.
So, in case you didn't know who the Three-Eyed Raven
Bran's
is.
the Three-Eyed Raven. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Spoilers.
I hate Bran. Anyways. So, yeah. House of the Dragon. I love how it starts out with, words on the screen saying, this is 172 years before Daenerys Targaryen. It doesn't say before Game of Thrones happens. It says before Daenerys Targaryen, which is, I don't know. I just think it's kind of funny. Because, I don't know. I just think it's funny. But anyways. Okay, so the first few episodes are about Viserys Targaryen and his daughter Rhaenyra. They're about him at the end of the first episode, he tells her that she's going to be the heir to the throne because his son unfortunately died during birth along with his wife, which was a very sad scene. A lot of childbirth scenes in this show that are very disturbing. But yeah, I mean, the first half of the season is about young Rhaenyra and young Alicent as they deal with their lives. What did you think of well, first off, tell me what you thought about King Viserys as a character, because I thought
I liked his character. I thought that he did what he could to try to keep his family together. So I think maybe at the beginning, a couple episodes, he was kind of kind of wimpy a little bit, but he had a good heart. And then in the end, he's kind of a badass when he gets out of his deathbed to go save his daughter. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, this show managed to make a scene where an old dude walks to his throne, like the most riveting thing ever. And one of the things I really loved about Viserys' character was his relationship with his brother Daemon. Daemon is a really great character played by Matt Smith, who was in the movie Morbius. He did that funny dance. Remember that?
Morbid time.
Morbid time. Yeah. No. So I love his relationship with Daemon because you could tell that he's his brother and he loves him, but he also knows that, listen, he's crazy. Like I can't have him around my kingdom. You know, I need him out of there. And then at the end of episode 3, there's this great scene where Daemon's hanging out with a sea snake and they're trying to kill this crab feeder guy, and he gets a message from Viserys saying, "Hey man, you can't do this on your own. I'm gonna go and help you." And Daemon's like, "Man, screw that!" And he just goes by himself, kills the crab feeder and his whole army, and it is the most badass scene ever. He doesn't have a single line in that episode, and he steals the show, which is great. What do you think of Daemon, Pops?
I mean, he's a psychopath, but he's a cool character.
Hell yeah.
I mean, he killed his wife. He choked out Rhaenyra. He did a lot of bad stuff. But I mean, but he's a badass.
All right, I did, yeah.
But I am against the
maybe you shouldn't say
violence.
He's a badass after you just said he chokes him.
Well, I mean, he's a badass like in like war.
Yeah.
But like domestically, he's got some issues.
He does. Well, I mean, all the Targaryens are like pretty nuts. I mean, I don't want to spoil Game of Thrones, but you know. Anyways, spoilers, sorry. But anyways, yeah, I really liked the first 3 episodes of this show. I had to watch this show like the first 3 episodes in one go because I finished Game of Thrones kind of late, and then I watched the first 3 episodes and they were awesome. And then episode 5 had that had the green. We've had the red wedding, the purple wedding, and now we have the green wedding, where Kristen Cole went crazy and killed Sir Laenor's lover in front of everybody. And that brings me to my first complaint with the show, which is, how has Kristen Cole not been executed or banished for all the stuff he's done in the show? He just kills people for no reason, and then they're just like, well, that sucks. Anyways, like, it doesn't even matter. Like, oh man. I hate Kristen Cole. I hate him so much. He slept with Rhaenyra one time 10 years ago, and because of that, he thinks he's owed so much. Just like, bro, it was a one-night thing. Come on. Like, get over it. I hate Kristen Cole, man.
And really, it was a rebound because she wanted to mess around with Daemon. It didn't work out, so she was like, okay, well, Kristen Cole's here.
I knew you get laid tonight, so Kristen Cole's right there. So, yeah. Yeah, no. Episode 5 was great. Let's talk about the time jumps, because that's been a source of criticism for the show.
I mean, it's been okay, but I wish they didn't do it. I'd rather have more episodes and just actually see what happened in the time jump. But it worked okay. But I would like to have seen, like, how Strong got together with Rhaenyra and all that stuff, and
yeah, like how they live life together.
Yeah, Daemon, how he ended up where he ended up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's cool, but I wish they would have had like maybe 1 or 2 more episodes and really flesh that out.
Yeah, my thing is Rhaenyra and Alicent age, but everybody else out on Viserys ages. He begins to look like that. Remember that episode of SpongeBob where he's like, chocolate? I remember when they first invented chocolate. I always hated it. That's Viserys in the later episodes of the show.
I think he looked like the dead guy from Lord of the Rings, the dead king.
Yeah. Yeah, no, all those characters age, but other characters like Kristen Cole and Daemon and Otto Hightower, they all look the same, even though it's been like 16 years.
Yeah.
That's a little weird. For me, the time jumps, I never disliked them. I was always fine with it. But my thing is, like, every time they did it, especially in episode 6, where they time jump 10 years and they switch out some actors, at that point I was like, okay, I feel like I'm watching the pilot to another show. I feel a little overwhelmed right now. Like, I gotta know all these new character names. And then, like, every episode they're like, oh, Rhaenyra's had 2 kids since the last episode. And you're like, okay, now I gotta remember these characters. So
I was like that, but then I watched the preview. It says, like, what happened in the last episode, and then I was good.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember everything, even though I just complained. No, but yeah, every episode of the show was really great. There was always so much to talk about. I could have reviewed every episode of this show. Every episode had so much happening. I could have done that, but I decided to wait till the end of the season just because, like, this show had a hard job to do, especially with episode 1. The Game of Thrones ending really, like, a lot of people quit after that. You know, they're like, I ain't watching no more damn Game of Thrones spin-offs, nothing like that. Me personally, I was like, okay, well, I finished Game of Thrones, and I still want to be in Westeros, so I'll watch House of the Dragon. And even though Game of Thrones did also leave a sour taste in my mouth with the ending, the first episode of the House of the Dragon got me right back in. I was super into it. We talked about Viserys, who was a great character, right? I love how he's almost a pacifist in a way. And he's actually, I used to think that, like, man, this guy kind of sucks as king. When you think about it, there wasn't really any huge war going on when he was
together.
king.
Everybody hated each other, and he still kept it together.
Yeah, if it weren't for him, Alicent and Rhaenyra would have been trying to murder each other. Obviously, they hated each other, but they would have been trying to kill each other a lot earlier if Viserys wasn't keeping everything together. And he was doing this while he was suffering from, like, some kind of hardcore, like, leprosy, which is really impressive.
Well, I think Alicent was poisoning him, too.
You think so?
They don't really say it, but I feel like it. Like when Daemon sniffs the glass and stuff, I think all gets hinted at that she's
maybe
slowly poisoning him. I mean, he'd probably get died on his own because he's pretty sick, but I don't think she was helping him.
Yeah. Viserys was a great character, and his death was really great. I love that his last line was "my love." He sees his wife right before he dies, which is great. And dumbass Alicent,
his real wife, not
his real wife, yeah. And dumbass Alicent is like, Aegon should be king? No way! Yeah. Oh God. Let's talk about the kids now. So, I haven't read the book, so I don't know what happens. But if I had to take a guess, I would say that Rhaenyra and Alicent are both probably going to die pretty soon, and the kids are going to be like the real conflict, especially with the end of season 1, which we'll get to later. But yeah, Aegon Targaryen. What a psycho! I mean, he's remember that window where Tommen, jumped off. Well, now every time I watch that scene, I'm like, man, Aegon was pulling a Homelander on that scene. How many? 200 years ago. Yeah, Aegon sucked. And then Aemon Targaryen.
Aemon's a mini Daemon.
Yeah, he's crazy. That kid is nuts.
He's hardcore too, but he's probably very dangerous.
Yeah,
also.
I wouldn't want to fight that guy.
Mm-mm.
And I'll tell you what, I thought he looked cooler without the eye patch. Actually, with that gem eye, I'm like, why does he even wear an eye patch? I think he looks cooler without it.
I think he wears the eye patch in the books because he doesn't want to scare women. Yeah. And then he wears the
he's not getting laid
sapphire or whatever it is. What is it? The emerald? I don't know what it is. With the stone in his eye.
Gem, I think.
When he's gonna fight to scare his enemies.
Yeah. He doesn't need to. He didn't need to do that to scare that kid. Like that kid would have been scared either way. Oh, but yeah. We haven't even talked about the characters of Rhaenyra and Alicent. So Rhaenyra.
I'm Team Rhaenyra. She's my favorite character. She's the badass.
Really? Okay. You know what?
Alicent sucks.
Okay, you know what? I love Rhaenyra, and I would probably also say I'm Team Rhaenyra, but I can totally see where Alicent's coming from. Totally, because
she shows her feet.
Rhaenyra.
To people,
okay, she did what she. Okay,
do.
Rhaenyra freaking got her dad fired because she slept with Daemon, and then she's like, "No, I didn't do it." And the guy that said that was spreading rumors. You need to fire him. He got fired over telling the truth.
When that happened, Rhaenyra was a little girl. She was like 18 years old or 17 years old. She's a badass. She had a baby, and then the very same day walked up a bunch of stairs and killed Alicent. And then later on, she had a miscarriage, and like the next day, boom, she's planning to take her throne back. She's a badass.
Okay, yeah, Rhaenyra's a
and she showed up on her dragon, the Dragonstone, and saved them from fighting a big little war.
I'm not saying I'm anti-Rhaenyra. I'm just saying
Alicent is just whack.
Listen, Alicent.
Look at her like group, a bunch of weirdos.
That's not her fault.
I mean, you are who you hang around with.
Okay, let's talk about the feet thing real quick. Everybody was complaining about that scene. It's nothing.
She's a weirdo.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, I hate that character. What's that character's name? Larys.
Weird guy.
Strong. Larys
killed
Strong.
His brother and his dad.
Yeah, he did. That sucked. That was hilarious when Rhaenyra's trying to tell the whole kingdom that Laenor is the father of her children when everybody knows she's been sleeping with her freaking security guard. He looks nothing like Laenor. It was so funny.
But that's part of the reason she's a badass. Like, everybody knows she's lying, but she doesn't care. She just sticks to it. She's like, no, I'm telling the truth.
Deny.
Yeah, she doesn't care. Everybody knows, and she's like, nah.
Which leads to that great scene where the sea snake's brother is like, those kids are bastards! And then Daemon freaking slices half of his head off, and he's like, he can keep his tongue. Which is a great scene. I don't know I don't know what that guy's plan was. Like, that was treason. He was going to die for that. It makes you wonder how far he got, how he got that far in life.
Yeah. He has lost himself in his anger. It cost him his life.
By the way, I want to talk about the sea snake. I forgot his name. Yeah, I forgot his name, but he was a cool character too. I will say another little small complaint.
He's still alive.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. But there's I think it was episode 7 or 8, where it's another time jump, and they say, they just say, yeah, the sea snake got injured off screen and he's healing.
Yeah, that'd been cool to see that. That's
Yeah,
what I'm
we
saying.
didn't get-
they skipped too much.
There's a lot that happens off screen, you know.
Really, 2 more episodes, and they would have been able to not skip
Yeah.
all that stuff. Just do the 2 episodes.
I would have liked to see more of Rhaenyra's life with Laenor, how they like operated, you know,
Yeah.
because they seem like they genuinely, even though they didn't love each other, obviously, I feel like they did genuinely care about each other in some way. I would have liked to see more of like they're partners, you know, they're in this together.
I think they were worried about like what happened with Lord of the Rings, where they get bogged down in too many details, so they kind of want to skip around. But I think they had enough good story, where they didn't have to do that. They could have actually just had those episodes.
Yeah, they did jump around a little too much. Where I'm like, wait, I kind of want to see what's going on here. The show does move a little too fast in some areas, but
Overall, good.
overall, it's a really
Good show.
Trying to think. Yeah, no, Rhaenyra is an awesome character, and you know what? By the end of the season, well, actually, we'll get to that later. So we talked about Rhaenyra, how she's a badass and she's awesome, she's hardcore, and now let's talk about Alicent. Yeah, so Alicent sells feet pics to Larys Strong in order to get what she needs, and you know, listen, I'm not saying I condone that. I'm just saying that, I mean, if it gets her further into her goal, I mean.
Well,
She's got to do it.
What's that guy's name? Larys. She's always
Larys.
getting him to do stuff like kill people and stuff, and then act like she's like holier than thou, and she doesn't know what's going on, but she knows what's going on.
She does.
At least Rhaenyra's straight up about it.
And you know what? She's a very similar character to Cersei in that she is crazy. I don't know if she's as evil as
Cersei's
Cersei.
a lot smarter than she is.
Yeah, I think so too. But Alicent, the thing she cares about most in her life, even though they're crazy, are her children. In that scene in episode 9 where Rhaenys, which is an awesome scene, Rhaenys comes up beneath the floor on her dragon, stares them down, and Alicent like is right in front of everybody, just like staring at her, like what? Protecting her kids, you know. It's a really great scene. Although people complain and that we're like, why didn't she just kill them right there? She could have ended the war right there. Dany would have done it.
Dany would have done it.
It was a little weird. And then the next episode, she gives this stupid excuse like, it's not my war to fight. What are you talking about? You just like, you could have ended it right there. I think that's gonna cost her, either her or her husband, their life in the next season.
Probably her husband. Her husband's already pretty messed up.
Yeah.
Probably
Sucks,
both of them, actually.
sucks for the Sea Snake. He has to work with Daemon after Daemon kills his brother.
Really, all the older characters are probably going to die by episode 5 of season 2. I would think they're all dead.
Yeah.
If they make it that far.
Yeah. I love the characters of Rhaenyra and Alicent. The show is basically a civil war between them. And even though I'm Team Rhaenyra, and everything she does after what happened at the end of the season is justified to me, I still love both characters. Although, I've never read the books, but I'm going to guess Rhaenyra comes out on top. But the good thing about this show is that even though it's a prequel, all you know is that the Targaryens were in power until Game of Thrones. And that doesn't mean that Rhaenyra wins or Alicent wins, because they're both part of the Targaryen timeline, you know?
Right. See,
So you don't know, unless you read the books, I guess. But yeah, what else?
and that's if they stick to the books, because they might not.
They'll stick to the books. After Game of Thrones, everybody
I would
complained.
hope they would stick to the books.
Yeah, everybody complained. They'll stick to the books. But yeah, episode 9, we talked about we talked about that awesome scene where she comes up beneath the floorboards, what they even
Yeah, that was
foreshadow
awesome.
in the
That was
beginning,
really cool.
the beast beneath the floor.
Probably the best scene in the whole damn show.
Yeah. Yeah, every episode had a ton of awesome stuff. Like I said, episode 8, it was a wonderful scene to see Viserys, even though he knows that his whole family hates each other. It was nice to see him have one last nice dinner with everybody. Everybody's just enjoying each other's company and dancing until Aemon and that one kid get into it. I forgot to mention that kid took Aemon's eye.
Yeah, but even took his life.
Yeah,
So,
not on purpose.
I don't know.
Let's talk about the season finale, which was a great episode. It was about Rhaenyra and Daemon. Rhaenyra had a miscarriage, which was unfortunate. And, so her kid, whose name I forgot, goes off to send a message to, who did she send a message to? It was a Lannister, right?
No. It was Baratheon.
Baratheon. Yeah, my bad. That's what I meant. I always get those two names confused. But yeah, he goes to send a message to Baratheon, and Aemon's there. Long story short, afterwards, Aemon decides, I'm going to scare this kid with my dragon Vhagar, who is the biggest dragon we've seen in the show so far.
I think he wanted to kill him. I mean, he wanted to cut his eye out. I think that when he actually did it, I think he was surprised. But I think that he knew what he was doing.
You think so?
At any point, that guy could have made that kid fall off his dragon.
I totally
he was
saw
chasing
it
him the entire time. I mean, what do you think was going to happen?
I mean, I totally saw that he was just trying to scare him. Because after he killed him, he's like, oh shit.
Well, yeah, once he actually did it. But everything he did led to that.
I think he didn't plan to kill him in that scene, but he did plan to kill him eventually.
He wanted to kill him. I mean, maybe he didn't, like, when he killed him, he was surprised he killed him, but he wanted to kill him.
Well, it's a great callback to an earlier scene where Viserys says the fact that we control dragons is an illusion because dragons are just animals. They're going to do what they want.
Mm.
You know, even Dany couldn't keep her dragons in line in Game of Thrones, you know, later on. But yeah, it's a great scene to end off the season. And Rhaenyra has lost one of her kids, and the last scene is just a close-up shot of her face. And she's crying, and now you know. I mean, we've known for the whole season, but now we really know that war is coming in season 2. It's going to be Rhaenyra versus Alicent, and that's going to be exciting. And I think the battle's going to come down to basically the kids. I think they're gonna fight each other. I really think Rhaenyra will probably die by the middle of season 2. I don't think Alicent will, because Alicent is just, you know, she's a villain, so she'll last a little longer. But yeah, is there anything we missed? We already talked about Daemon, how he's a great character. We already talked about how much we hate Kristen Cole. I hate Kristen Cole.
Yeah, he sucks.
You know, there were characters I hated on Game of Thrones, but I still like enjoyed watching them. But every time I see Kristen Cole, I just want to punch him in his stupid face. I hate him so much. It's come on, bro. He's like he's like talking to Rhaenyra's other boyfriend. And he's like, "Wow, you really care about these kids. Only a way a father could care about their kids." And you're like, "Oh, it's on. Kick his ass, man." Oh man, what a great scene. This show has so many great scenes. You could probably make a top 20 list of just top 20 scenes in House of the Dragon. I was always super interested. Yeah, I really like this show. I think obviously it has problems, like the time jumps were a little overwhelming, and I think the show does move a little too fast at times, but I really like this show. I thought it was great. It's a great return to form for Game of Thrones as a franchise after the really disappointing end that show had. I think this is a great way to get what the story, the Westeros world back on track. I'm super excited to see where season 2 goes. And apparently they're making other spin-offs, like they're making a Jon Snow show, they're making a Sea Snake show, and if they're as good as this...
Well, I heard something got canceled when this came out. But not Jon Snow, that's going to happen.
That Jon Snow's going to happen. If the Jon Snow show is as good as this, then I'm really excited for that.
Well, I heard it's a variety show, so it should be really good.
Oh, man. Jon Snow's hosting Saturday Night Live. No, yeah, but House of the Dragon is just, it's awesome. I really like it. I'm going to miss this show. Every Sunday, I'm like, time for another trip to Westeros with weirdos and childbirth and violence and sadness. But yeah, final thoughts, what did you think of House of the Dragon Season 1?
I liked it. I mean, it's over. Now we got to watch Rick and Morty when it comes back, so that'll be good. But yeah, I thought it was really good. I hope that season 2, I think season 2 will be better and everything, who everybody is. Season 2, they can really go at it, so that'll be good.
Really, Season 1 was just made to explain why Rhaenyra and Alicent are going to go to war.
Right.
So
So
season
circling
2's
back to like Lord of the Rings or Ring of Power, I'm hoping that season 1 was a builder also, and then season 2 will be a little better.
Ring of Power is a snoozer, man.
Yeah, so I'm hoping season 2 will be better as well. So I'm hoping both those shows will be good, because I'm not rooting for one show over the other. I like them both. I hope that they're both good.
See, that's what makes Ring of Power
There's
so
enough
sad
room for
to me.
both shows.
I love Lord of the Rings. I actually prefer Lord of the Rings to Game of Thrones, but
Yeah.
but Ring of Power sucks. It's so bad. It's so boring.
I hope it gets better.
I hope so too. But yeah, House of Dragon, I would give season 1 just a good old 8 out of 10. Thought it was solid. Team Rhaenyra, I hope she wins. She probably will. Alicent sells feet pics, so I can't condone that on any level. Yeah. But yeah, House of the Dragon, it's great. Bye.
Or swims.